Hey, folks, we are now live here, getting ready to kick off this webinar. I'm very excited to have everybody here. And please, anybody that's here, please do go ahead and announce yourself. There's a chat box on the right side, and that'll let you tell us your name and where you're coming from. Actually, if you just chat in there, we'll know who you are. It'll have your name, so you can just say where you're joining us from. It's always cool to see where everyone's from. So go to that chat box on the right side and tell us, number one, are you hearing me? And number two, where are you joining us from today? So hey, folks that are joining us, really excited to get going. We're going to get going in about 1 minute. We got Tamara from Harrelson, BHM. Oh, cool. All right, we got Lanny Santos Torres from Columbia, Minnesota. Is that Minnesota or Maryland? I'm Canadian. You have to excuse my state abbreviation ignorance sometimes. I get Minnesota and Mississippi mixed up all the time. It's pathetic, but it happens. So we're going to get going in about a minute. We're just going to let other folks join in. We got people joining up every few seconds. There's a few more people joining in, so I want to give everyone a chance to get in before we kick it off. So we'll get going in a minute or two. And we're going to be talking about a case study of how Fort McMurray Montessori and a number of other schools that we've worked with have grown their enrollment to capacity in under 6 months using Facebook ads, of course. So I'm super honored to have everyone attending today. And I know folks are, we've had some technical difficulties in the past from previously recorded webinars playing at the same time. So this might sound strange, but I need everybody to confirm that or at least I need somebody to confirm that they're hearing me and not the recording, because I asked the same question in the recording too. So this is a strange one, but I'm going to ask you to say, somebody type in, anybody, at least one person type in the color blue. Just type in blue in the chat box. That way I know you're actually hearing me, the live version, not the recorded version from a few months ago. So if anybody could do me that favor, just go to the chat box on the right side. Okay, we got a bunch of blues. All right, that's good news, guys, because it was very frustrating the last time this happened. It was okay, folks. Thank you. I got 4 blues so far, 5 so far. Thank you. 6. Thanks, Tamara. There's a bit of a lag, I think, when you guys type and what I see in the chat box. So that's another, makes me want to bring up another point. If you have questions, I'm going to leave questions to the end. I'm going to have a question period at the end. If there is a question that you have, you can definitely put it in the chat box. But I'm pretty much going to be very focused on the slides and talking. I don't have anybody else monitoring the chat. So if possible, I do urge you to stay to the end to ask your questions, because I'm going to leave a good 10 to 15 minutes for questions and answers at the end. And so I think we're going to get started. So I hope you guys are enjoying the music in the background. That's my old band from early 2000s. So I've got the rights to use it. Make sure I don't get in any trouble when this gets put on YouTube or something. All right, and I'm going to turn the music off and get on with the show. All right, folks. So thank you very much for joining me today. Again, it's an honor to have everybody giving me your time. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, so we're going to be talking about a topic that is crucially important to so many schools, and it's enrollment marketing, right? So this is a case study of how we helped Fort McMurray Montessori and a few other schools grow their enrollment using Facebook ads. So for many reasons, Facebook ads are really the best place for any private school to spend their limited ad dollars, their limited marketing budget. And I'm gonna get into why that is. Other things work for sure, but Facebook certainly is the best way to go to use your dollars more efficiently. So again, thank you for joining me today, and we're going to get started. And so I want you to take a look at this picture, because this is a very common sort of scene that I see. I go to a lot of schools, and I work with a lot of school administrators, and take a look at that picture, right? It's the school, it's the office. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Things are being managed, with paper, a lot of paper forms all over the place, and deposits and field trip permission forms and field trip, payments and stacks of dollars and coins and binders and calendars and all this paper. And then there's this computer there, that runs software and is connected to the internet. So it's almost like what we see in a lot of schools is that the school is being managed as if there actually isn't a computer connected to the internet in the building, but there's usually multiple computers connected to the internet. But unfortunately, that very helpful tool is not being used properly, right? So you're in the right place if you need to improve your marketing, but you're not really sure how to do it or what strategies work best. And you're in the right place if you're tired of taking in families into your school that are not really the most ideal fit for your school, but you feel like you have to accept them because you need to make payroll and you need to pay for other expenses. And you're in the right place if you would like to spend more time on higher value tasks like face-to-face conversations with parents and teachers and children, of course, right? Being in the classroom. Most of the people I talk to that run a school actually came first and foremost as a teacher, as an educator, and their passion is really being in the classroom. And they're running a school because they wanted to do more. They wanted to progress maybe in their income. So they're running a school now. They open up a Montessori or another kind of school, and because that was really, because being a teacher, obviously there's limits to how much a school can pay a teacher. But if you run a school, if you own a school, you have the ability to make at least a little bit more. So some people might argue, a lot of people will argue with that, but we're going to talk about that a little bit. But really, your real passion here is to be an educator, is to be with the children, and you want to be in that environment. So you don't want to be, bogged down with the drudgery of the busy work and the business side of things, which is not really why most people get into education. So I also want to strongly encourage you to stay for the full 60 minutes of this presentation. We're gonna review a variety of solutions to the most common and pervasive challenges of enrollment marketing. And I'm also going to be telling you how you can download a free ebook titled How to Get Started with Facebook Ads. It's going to kind of summarize what I'm doing here and give you some examples to take away and work with. And but you have to stick around to the end to learn how to get that. And also at the end, we're going to do questions. So if you have any questions about what I'm saying, if you have any arguments, you want to debate a little bit, I'll even pull you in live and you can tell me I'm wrong. I love that kind of stuff. So we can certainly get into that at the end, the last 10 or 15 minutes of the presentation. So this is Fort McMurray Montessori in Alberta, Canada. And like most schools, they were experiencing very low enrollment. And they had a particularly challenging year because they were operating out of a public school, which was providing a lot of their enrollment base. But there was this policy change in the government which made them have to move to another location, and they were hit pretty hard on an enrollment level. And Patricia is the owner and director of the school with her husband, and she thought that marketing and everything was something that she should know how to do herself. She thought that she should take the time to learn how to do it. And she quickly realized that she needed to get outside help, so she came to us. Not because she's not smart enough or capable. She's a brilliant person and a phenomenal educator, but she's running a school. She's very, very busy. and it takes at least 1,000 hours to figure out how to use these tools properly. There's a lot of ways to use these digital marketing tools, and so they came to us, and after launching their campaign, they grew by over 40 students in under 6 months, and now they have like a waiting list at their school, so they're kind of feeling much happier. And you can see in this graph how many inquiries they had coming in when they were doing their enrollment marketing on their own, and then how many were coming in after working with us, after using the Facebook ad campaign the right way. So I'll show you another person. This is Brian Gordon from Global Montessori. Let me just switch my slide there. So this is Brian Gordon. Very different background than Patricia, actually. Brian is, I would say, an outlier. He came in, his background is different than most school directors. Brian, he has an MBA, so he's coming from a real business background. He's also a computer programmer. He went to West Point, and he worked for the U.S. Army Intelligence, and he also worked for even Walmart corporate, managing their logistics, which is quite challenging stuff to manage. I mean, that's a lot of things moving around the country, the continent actually. So this guy is a very sharp business executive, but he also found that while running a school and all the things he had to do and his staff had to do, it didn't leave much time or make much sense for him or really anyone else on his staff to try to learn how this digital marketing stuff works, because that wasn't his background. He didn't have thousands of hours of experience with it. As you can see, he says, I wasn't sure if I should bring this to the board, but I'm glad I did, right? Because obviously, when you got a board and I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you can spend the school's money, but you can see how many, if you take a look at this graph, this is how many inquiries were coming in before working with us and how many were coming in after. So who is this presentation for? So maybe you're a school director or a director of admissions, or maybe you're an owner or a board member and you've got a great school with amazing teachers and children are thriving from your programming, the ones that are there and enrolled, and you want to have a full school with a waiting list, so you don't have to even worry about sort of the business side of the school, right? Again, that's the part of the school that people don't really get into this for. They don't get into it to be a business tycoon or to become a marketing guru, right? So you want to emancipate yourself from the drudgery of running this business and all the administrative busy work that comes with it. So, you run a school because you're a warm and caring person and you love educating children and parents, and you understand that by creating a great learning environment, you're literally improving the world and having a greater impact than anyone else possibly can. You are playing a critical role in developing people that will go out and help other people and fix all the world's problems, right? The best way to make the world better is to educate children. And I'm sure I don't need to tell that to any of you guys, but you're seeing that it's getting harder and harder to keep the school full. Unlike 10 or 15 years ago, when all you had to do was have a great school and word of mouth referrals filled up your enrollment without you really having to do any marketing. Now, with the rapidly evolving communication technology and the expectations of your parents, you're finding that word of mouth referrals aren't really working enough. They're still bringing in students, but it's not really getting enough students anymore. And you don't have a predictable way to get parents into the school for tours that allows you to have a predictable or efficient strategy for keeping the school full with the right kind of families, with the most ideal fitting parents. So, you might be pinned up against the wall a little. You need more students. Maybe it's urgent. Maybe you're a little stressed out. And you think about the families that you have enrolled that aren't necessarily the best fit for your school, but you took them anyways because ultimately you need their tuition to pay your staff. And you know that if you don't get more students, you're going to have to maybe, unfortunately, let some people go, or maybe even shut the school down, of course, in the very worst case scenario. You've probably heard about things like search engine marketing or search engine optimization, SEO, or social media marketing, but you don't necessarily know how to use them or what exactly they are or how they differ, because all of those things are very different from each other, although they all get sort of clumped together like as if they're the same thing, and they're really not. Or you've learned a little bit about these things, and you've tried to spend some money on them and blown some money without getting any real results, which is almost everybody I talk to every day. And you've got a great school, and you've got real magic happening in the classrooms, and all you need to do is get more parents doing tours, because when they see it and they hear it and they feel it and they come into the school for that tour and they have that full body experience, the school basically sells itself, right? You need to get the right parents in the door. And you know that once you have a marketing system that brings in the right parents doing tours, you'll be fully enrolled with a waiting list, and then you will have more time to get back to the real reason why you do what you do, which is the joy of educating children and parents. If you are running a school, you're a smart person, and you're a passionate person, and you have wisdom to share with people, and you just need to get a game plan to put it all together. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's the core concept behind what we do, and what I hope to allow you to walk away with is that every single dollar that your school has available to spend on marketing should be put towards Facebook ads. But there's a caveat to that. They need to be also managed by an expert. So if you don't have an expert managing the ads, and this kind of goes for every form of marketing, by the way. So this isn't just a Facebook thing, but I would say especially Facebook, because of how powerful it is. It's the best way to spend the littlest amount of money to get the best parents in the door, and the best parents in the door. But you really have to know what you're doing, or it's equally as good at wasting your money. It's very easy. So you really need to know. You need an expert using that system on your behalf. And your school obviously does not have a Facebook ad expert in-house, and you need to get outside help. And Hubly is the only company that's dedicated to providing schools with a completely hands-free marketing solution that actually works. And I can say that very confidently because we actually have our own proprietary software that we've built, that's built to allow schools to help schools use Facebook ads to their most in the most efficient and productive way. So that's something that we have that nobody else has in the world. So that's why I can say that very confidently. So just for some quick background, after 15 years of building school management solutions, I was kind of bumping into this issue. I wasn't 15 years of doing enrollment marketing specifically, but I was working in the education sector, providing software solutions, and I was always bumping into this issue. And I've seen the pattern over the years. I've seen that over the last 10 or 15 years, enrollment marketing has become the biggest problem inside the education sector. So I really decided to dig into this issue. And after hundreds of hours of conversations and analysis and providing these services and testing out all the different things that work, we've developed this. So so that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years with Hubly, almost exclusively for Montessori schools. Although if you're not a Montessori school, you should know that everything I'm talking about applies to any private school scenario, any specific kind of private school. It's just that we've been very focused on Montessori, and the Montessori market world has really responded well to us just kind of naturally. We didn't really plan it; it just happened. And I'm also a school management lecturer with the Center for Guided Montessori Studies, which is actually the largest Montessori teacher training company in the U.S. And so I lecture with them. And I give part of their administrator accreditation program. So I lecture on the topics of enrollment marketing and school management, administrative management efficiencies and things like that. So that's where I'm coming from. In case you're wondering why I'm holding this webinar to begin with. And I'm also very honored to be working with an amazing leadership team and an advisory team that consists of the most sought after education management consultants in the industry and in the world, actually. So I'm particularly excited to point out our newest executive team member, Mark Selden, is our CTO, our Chief Technical Officer, who joined us a few months back. He started out as a customer, actually, so he owns a Montessori school. And he also is the director of the CGMS, who is the teacher training company that I'm a lecturer with. So those relationships were there before he joined our company. But after working with us and being a customer of ours and working with him for about a year and a half, he actually decided to join our executive team. I didn't know that he was actually a tech business, a very experienced tech business leader. I thought he was he was a teacher first and foremost, but I was happy to find out that he could really improve our whole company also on a technical level. So, so I'm really excited to announce that he's a leader in our company now. We have great advisors. Tim Selden, the president of the Montessori Foundation, Jonathan Wolf, who is the founder of Learning for Life and Montessori Leadership, and also Fred Mednick, who is the founder of Teachers Without Borders. He's on the board. He's a professor at Johns Hopkins and at USC in the Department of Education, and he goes around the world consulting with countries, helping them develop educational policies. And so all of these folks really helped us make sure that we're keeping our eye on our mission, which is to empower schools, because ultimately you guys that are running schools are the heroes that are literally doing the most impactful work to fix the world. And that's what you do. We don't do that, but we want to help empower you to do more of that. So we want to help try to get the roadblocks out of your way, try to make your jobs and your lives easier in what you do, and that's why we exist. That's our mission. So why has enrollment marketing become such an important topic? Because I've been talking about this. I've been saying over the last 10 or 15 years, things have really, it's become quite an issue for schools. So there's actually been huge growth in the number of private schools in the US over the last 25 years. So the growing number of options for parents is making it much harder for schools to maintain their enrollment. While at the same time, the average family is having 44% less children than they did back in the 60s. So now we've hit this critical point where the market's becoming very competitive. And the majority of people running schools have an education background, or maybe they've got a small business background, but they don't really have experience in digital marketing. Like nobody, I have yet to find somebody that runs a school that's had 10,000 hours of digital marketing experience, right? So although everyone's certainly, like I said, everyone's certainly smart enough to do this. You're all smart enough to figure this out, but where are you going to find the time to do it, right? You're already overworked and underpaid as it is. Let's be honest. So, and something that exacerbates the problem is, if you think about it, the average age of a school director is 49 years old, whereas the average age of a parent is 28 years old. The parents that come into, that are entering into the school. So every year, the people running the schools who are, usually trained as teachers are getting older, right? While their customers are really staying the same age. And over the last decade, communication technology just keeps on changing rapidly. The way people engage content, very, very different than it was even 10 years ago. And it just keeps on changing more and more rapidly. So there's this growing divide between the behaviors and the expectations around communication of the average school director or the people running the school and the people coming in as parents. And it's not, that divide is getting bigger. It's not getting smaller. So most of our customers, okay, so Mythbuster number one. I've got a few Mythbusters here. So your website is not the place to sell parents on your school. And your pamphlets are not the place to sell parents on your school. And your ads are not the place to try to sell parents on your school. Nothing that you use to communicate any information to a prospective parent from the point of them becoming aware of your school, and then inquiring, and then until they come into the school for a tour in person with their complete full body, having a full body experience in the school. Everything before that tour experience, before that full body tour experience, everything before that, the goal of your website or any form of communication is to sell or persuade or convince the right parents on coming in for that tour, on booking that tour, not to sell them on your school. And if you keep that in mind, that should have a drastic impact on what your website says and how it looks, and what your emails say, and what you say to them on the phone, and what your pamphlets have, everything, what your ads say. All of that should have a very, very big impact on all of that, all of those forms of communication. So most of our customers, haven't necessarily tried using Facebook ads for enrollment, but many of them have. The ones that have usually tell us that they've lost a lot of money on them without getting any results. So here's why, right? This is one of the most common mistakes we see schools doing. They write their ads and their website content as if they are speaking to parents that already know they want to send their kids to a Montessori school. Okay. Now you can interchange Montessori with other kinds of schools: Jewish school, Christian school, Reggio Emilia. You can, like what I'm saying here about Montessori transfers to really any type of school. And so I'm going to talk about Montessori mostly because that's the predominant majority of our customer base. But I just want you to know, if you're not a Montessori school, don't feel alienated. Everything I'm saying applies to you as well. All right. So, and while it might make sense to think, oh, I should use my website and give them all the information I think they need to make a decision. The parents that already know they want to enroll their children in a Montessori school, they're going to find you without your help, right? You should not be paying to advertise to those parents. So the parents that you want to spend your marketing budget on are the ones that are they're looking for the values that your school offers, but don't yet understand that what they are looking for is a Montessori school. So basically, they are actually looking for your school or your kind of school, but they just don't know it yet, because every kind of school has specific language, right? About how they talk about these more general value propositions. So this I'm going to show you a case study here now about Rising Scholar Montessori. So this is, but before working with us, they were making all the normal mistakes we see across the industry. On their main website, it was all about the Montessori method, many long paragraphs about Maria Montessori and her philosophies. And the problem is, again, it was really perfect for someone that's already sold on Montessori and wants to read about it, and kind of knows what the different, what the Montessori lingo means. But it was actually kind of bad for someone that wasn't already bought into the Montessori method. Now, that doesn't mean that someone that isn't already a Montessori parent isn't necessarily, it's not that they're necessarily not a good fit for your school. They could be. It just means that you need to translate the benefits of a Montessori education, or again, interchange that with Jewish or Christian or Lutheran or whatever your specific school is, right, into the natural language that they will understand, right? So let's take a look at this campaign we built for them. This is the ad that people clicked on, which were, after people clicked on the ad, they're taken to this landing page. Okay, so we, a landing page it's really just a web page, but it has very specific design rules. And on that web page, that they fill out an inquiry form, and then upon submitting the form, they're taken automatically, they're redirected over to this automated tour booking system. So now, if you take a look at the language on the ads on the web page, you'll notice that the only mention of Montessori is in the name of the school. Otherwise, the language, though clearly describing the values of a Montessori education, it's been naturalized for the parents in that specific area, right? Because people talk about these things differently depending on the zip code they live in, right? So we got this language directly from the parents themselves, and that's the key. That's what I'm going to talk about next. So how do you figure out how to talk about these things? What words, what language should you use? So the best way to write ads and to write website copy, or really any language for any type of marketing material, is to learn how your customers would naturally speak about the value that you offer. You want to figure out how they talk about it. Then you want to use that language in your ads and websites. So the easiest way to learn this is to identify the parents you already have at your school that are your favorite or most ideal, the best fit parents. Then you want to ask them some very specific questions that elicit long form responses about how they benefit from your school, or what type of problems are solved by having their children in your school. Then what you want to do is take that language from those responses and just use them word for word, even if they're a little grammatically incorrect, right? Take quotes, do things like that. You're also going to want to test many of these responses to see which ones perform better, right? And you'll find that the 80-20 rule always plays out, meaning one or two of the versions of the ad will hit it out of the park, and some will just kind of be lukewarm, and then the rest will just totally fall flat. So what you want to do at that point, obviously, is once you figure out the one that works the best, you just stop running all the other ones, and you just keep the best one running, and that's how you find a great ad. You don't just try to make it up on your own and make one ad. You make many ads, and you see which ones perform the best, and that's what's great about Facebook ads, is you can actually track the performance. So now I want to talk about tracking, because when we first started working with Rising Scholar Montessori, they really had no idea how much they needed to budget for marketing. And the main reason why they didn't know that is because they had no idea how much it cost them to generate an inquiry. So knowing what to track is really critical. Usually when I speak to a school that's been trying to use Facebook ads, I ask them, how's it going? They usually tell me it's not going very well. And then I always follow up with asking them, I ask them, how much are you spending per inquiry? And they never know. They say, oh, I should know that, but I have no idea. So the one metric they usually tell me that they do know is how many clicks their ads are getting, or how much their cost per click is. But unfortunately, the only metric that means anything and actually tells you how well your campaign is performing is the cost per inquiry. So no one has ever known that number. But the one thing that's great about Facebook ads is if your system is set up correctly, it will report to you exactly which inquiries came from which ads and exactly how much you are spending per inquiry. And as I'll show you in a few minutes, that puts you in a position to know exactly how much you need to budget for marketing later on. You will know to the dollar if let's say in a year and a half, you've got 5 positions opening up, and you're going to know exactly what you need to spend to the dollar to fill those 5 spots, which is really helpful, because when you know that, you know what you don't have to spend. It helps you be really, really efficient and use your budget more efficiently for other things. So so one thing that most people don't know about Facebook advertising is that how you set up the targeting is usually the most important factor in how well the campaign performs. This is really the secret sauce and really the power of Facebook ads. It's what makes them so powerful and a much better advertising platform than any others for enrollment marketing specifically. So just as you need to design and test multiple ads and landing pages, you also have to test different targeting strategies. And you want to make sure you're targeting the right people. So when you get started, you want to cast a wide net and then see which demographics show the highest engagement, so that you can start filtering out the people that are less likely to schedule a tour, right? Because obviously, I'm sure you understand, you don't want to spend, it's a waste of money to spend money to show your ads to people that are less likely to engage them, so that as you filter those people out, as you discover who is not engaging, you can stop showing the ads to them, stop paying to advertise to them, and only advertise to the people that are most likely to engage your ads. And thus, that's how you, over time, optimize and get a lower and lower cost per inquiry. But you need to make sure everything's set up to track that. So but this is how you do that. You do the tracking, make sure tracking is set up correctly, and then you start testing. Not only can you target by demographics, but Facebook knows so much about its users. It also allows you to target by their interests. And again, the right approach to finding the right interests for parents in your area that are most likely to enroll in your school is to cast a wide net and then track to see which targeted interests show the highest engagement. Then you can start removing those interests that are less likely, and you don't have to pay to advertise to those people. And if you take a look at this list of interests that resulted in the most inquiries, you'll notice that this was advertising a Montessori school. Actually, I'm on the wrong slide here. Sorry. Here we go. So here's the list of interests. And if you take a look at this list, you'll notice that early childhood education is at the very top. It performed the best, and far better than Montessori specific interests. And this is part of the proof that, the people that are most likely to enroll in your school aren't necessarily already looking or interested in Montessori. They just don't necessarily know they are, right? So they're not necessarily, identifying that in Facebook as their interest, but they're, early childhood education, child development, positive parenting, right? These are people that are there's a much larger market of people. And this goes for any niche kind of school, right? But there's, just to use Montessori as an example, there's going to be a larger market of people that are actually a great fit for your school, that aren't necessarily identifying themselves as fans of Montessori. So you can't really assume that what will work, best. So you have to test a lot of ideas. And so also here's another reality about creating a successful ad campaign that most people don't know. There are three main areas of testing, and you have to test one at a time, right? First, you want to test the creative. That's like the ad copywriting, the videos, the pictures. Then you want to test the targeting. It's like, who are you showing the ads to? And then you want to test the landing page. Where are the ads going? And that's where that form submission happens. And you're going to be testing multiple variables inside each of those three areas, right? And how well you do this determines the success of your campaign. You should not expect to get amazing results for a little while. You have to spend money to learn what doesn't work before you can identify what does work. It's a process of elimination that often requires you to have ups and downs in overall performance while you're testing. But even when you're testing targeting, for example, and the campaign drops to 0 inquiries, that's not really a bad thing. That's actually a great thing, because now you know what doesn't work. You have eliminated what doesn't work. So if we take a look at these three pillars here, these are three different phases of testing the same campaign. So we started out testing the ad creative. So we tested 36 different ads, 36 unique ads, all running at the same time. And so we had to spend money to find out which ones of those 36 didn't work. And again, we're just looking for the one top performer. So through that time period, we got 6 inquiries for a cost of $42 each. Then we moved over to testing the targeting strategies, how we're going to target people. And there's a number of ways to do that. There's a few main ways, but when we see if you take a look at the second pillar here, it got 0 conversions, right, at a cost of $335. So we literally got 0 inquiries, and that might look really bad. But this is why I talk about this, because I want you to understand that when you go into this exercise, you have to expect the performance of the campaign at a specific time to go down sometimes, because that might look like a really negative thing, but it's a really good thing, because if you look at the third phase of the testing, now we got 33 inquiries for a cost of $10.29 each. So by us figuring out what targeting strategy doesn't work, we figured out what does, right? It elucidates what does work. So now we know what does work, and then we were able to improve the performance of this campaign by over 400%. We went from getting inquiries for $42 each to getting inquiries for $10 each. So that's a great result. But it takes knowing how to use and test all these different things to get there. Now this school has this campaign, right? It sits in their Facebook ad manager. So whenever, it's like a faucet. Now it just runs and it generates inquiries for $10 each. Whenever they need to get more enrollment and generate inquiries and get tours coming in, they just one click turns it on, and it works again the same way. So it's sitting there. It's like a self-driving car. It's just sitting there waiting to be turned on to drive and generate inquiries. That's what every school should have. So myth number 2. Mythbuster number 2, you should never follow up with prospective parents manually. Your inquiry process should be automated to ensure it's always as businesslike and standardized as possible. This is the critical thing. This is what 28-year-olds want today at this stage of the relationship. So one of the best ways to impress prospective parents today and build a sense of trust is to show them that you are extremely well organized and up to date, and that your office is run efficiently. At this stage of the relationship with them, this is critically important, right? The analogy I like to use to talk about why this is important is if you think about how large of a decision it is, right? To where are you going to put your children? What school are you going to send your children to? It's a really big decision. It's in the top 3 or 4 important decisions that people make in their lives, right? So like who are you going to marry, where are you going to live, and what school are you going to put your kids in are all really large decisions, right? So at this stage, so I use this marriage analogy. So at this stage, it's kind of like going on first dates for marriage. If you were to go on a first date for marriage and somebody was to pull out an engagement ring, that would be kind of weird, right? It's like, whoa, you're coming on, you're like, I'm not necessarily ready to get engaged here. I just on a first date, I want to just know if I want to go on date number 2. That's all I want to think about right now. Don't try to make me fall in love with you. Don't ask me to marry you. I don't want a relationship yet. So with a parent, it's obviously a little different, but they're when they're inquiring about your school, it's more like a first date. They're not sure, right? They just want to know, do I want to come in for a tour? They need to be convinced that they should come in for date number 2, which is the tour. And that's where the magic happens. Okay? It's not in the email beforehand. It's not on the phone. This demographic does not want phone calls. Don't call these people. They won't pick up the phone. You'll be just spending all this time, wasting all this time. And even if you get them on the phone, they don't want to talk to you. Unless they call you, that's when they want to talk to you, but they don't want you calling them. Nobody wants to use phones today, right? Unless they're talking to like their best friend or their mom, right? Like that's what phones are for. Like the predominant usage by over 90% of the usage of cell phones today is text messaging or email, not phone calls, okay? So it's just different than it used to be. They don't want you to come on and show them how warm you are. All of that stuff pushes them away because they're not psychologically ready for it. They're on their first date. Now, if you can do all of that in the tour. All of that, everything I'm saying here is totally different. You have to think of these people at the stage of inquiring psychologically, and then at where that person is at psychologically when they come in for the tour. It's like they're 2 different people. And you have to, so all of your communication until they come in for the tour needs to be as short and concise and businesslike and timely and specific as possible, not warm and fuzzy. That pushes more parents away than brings them in. Okay, more of the right parents, because the right people, right? You can't say, oh, well, the right parents are going to respond to that. No, they're not, because it's a different time. Okay, so I'm going to show you how an automated admissions process works. But before I do, I want to show you the results you should expect from using a system like this. So at Rising Scholar Montessori, they were kind of doing everything the old school conventional way, manually communicating and organizing, every step of the way, and sending emails and making phone calls, and every email was like different, and they try to really put a warmth into everything, and it was just very, very, very time consuming. A lot of paper forms, a lot of manual data entry, a lot of redundant database systems. Very, very time consuming stuff. So now, what they have now is a dashboard with a simple list. It's easy to manage and track where everyone is in the process, right? So, and the system is working in the background, handling all the emails, the reminders, and the form entries, and now the school has one place to go and see the status of every parent that's currently going through the admissions process. So it's all organized, everyone's up to date, and no one's falling through the cracks, and it saves them 2 hours a day. Because especially remember, when you actually have a good marketing campaign that's bringing in inquiries, all of a sudden you can't do anything except for handle inquiries, right? Which is a problem because you probably have other things you need to do as well. So you want a system that actually allows you, that manages the inquiries for you, right? So that you're only spending time once somebody's actually booked a tour and showing up for a tour. Now, that's not to say you can't customize the process and have phone calls. We're just telling you what we think. This is our opinion. So think about how many steps are involved from the point when a prospective parent first contacts you to when they eventually enroll in your school. It's all these steps that are being managed manually, right? Like, it's a lot of busy work, and really what you want is your system to work like a self-driving car. So when we work with a school, we custom design their prospective parent management system, so it automates the whole process that takes an interested parent from the point of initially becoming aware of the school to the point when they show up for the tour. And this is the exact part of the process that really falls apart for most schools. As I'm sure you're all aware, that once a parent finally comes into the school, it's like I've talked about, it's a kind of sells itself, right? Now, we've surveyed over 1,000 schools, and there is a remarkably high success rate from the point of tour to enrollment. The average school reports like a 75% success rate from tour to enrollment, which is really abnormally high. So there's nothing that you really want to change about that experience. I would not touch that. If you're getting a high success rate from your tours, don't change a thing, right? But that said, like on average, the average Montessori school is not doing a very good job of getting parents into the school. So that's where having the right process and system becomes so critical, right? The way this works is that you want to pre-write a number of emails that will send out to all of these, all of these parents, and drip out depending on what stage they're at in the process. So I'm just going to walk through this a little bit. I'm going to get my my annotation going, so bear with me a second here. So get my marker lined up here. All right, so first, somebody comes from the Facebook ad, and that brings them to a web page. That's the landing page where they fill out that inquiry form. Now, once they fill out that inquiry form, they're odd. So this school spent, so Rising Scholar Montessori was getting inquiries, if we remember, for $10 each. Okay, so they spent $1,000 on this campaign over a few months, and so they were getting inquiries for $10 each. So that means 100 people. So this is 100 people. I'm going to try to write with this. Oh, that's really looking great. 100 people filled out that inquiry form. 10% of them, right? Now, all of them were automatically directed to the tour booking system, right? And 10% of them booked the tour. Now, and if they didn't do it immediately, they will get email reminders from the system, bring them back to this page to book a tour. But you're going to get about a 10% conversion from the landing page, right, form submission, to the tour booking. Then you're going to see 70% show up rate from the tour. 70% of these people are going to show up for the tour and attend it, right? And again, they're going to get automated reminders from the system, reminding them that they booked the tour, reminding them to show up. And then 70% of those people are going to enroll. Now there's still 90 people from this original 100. There's still 90 people that have not yet booked a tour and come in and gone through that process. So you don't want to forget about those people, but you should not be calling those people. It's not a good way to spend your time. They're not showing enough interest yet to warrant you spending your time to call them. Plus, calling them is just not going to work. They don't want phone calls either. So what you want to do is we call this an email drip sequence. You want a system that just keeps on emailing them, reminding them every month, every few weeks, hey, thanks for your interest. Like, where you can either invite them to an open house if you have open houses. That's a good strategy as well. If you do open houses, it's a good secondary strategy for this 90 people. So you're going to get 20% of those people eventually to either come into an open house or come back and book a tour. But that's going to happen over the next few months. And that's why we call it a drip. Every month they get an email. Hey, remember us? Hey, remember us, right? And you don't have to try to sell them, not be pitchy, not be salesy. Just want to remind them. And that's why you're going to get 20% of those people. If it's open houses, you'll see about a 50% show up rate generally, because open houses are a little less committal than one-on-one tours. If they sign up, they're going to get reminders to show up, right? These reminders that bring them to the open house, and then 70% of those people enroll. So this school, Rising Scholar Montessori, they got 12 students for a cost of $83 each. Now, this is being tracked by our system. And this is that proprietary software that we built that really helps you utilize these Facebook inquiries and make sure that it automates it and tracks everything, so you know exactly. So you have a top to bottom completely automated enrollment marketing system that even manages the prospects till they're enrolled and showing up for tours and open houses without you having to do anything, so that you're just spending your time with people that are really likely to enroll, and you're not spending your time calling people and not getting not getting responses, which is just really not a good use of your time. It's not efficient, and it's just not a good use of your time, because there's better, more important things for you to be doing. And then also, so that system comprises digital forms as well. It really gets you away from the paperwork, so that you're not, spending a lot of time just managing paper, which just adds hours and hours to your day. And there's just no need to be using paper anymore. Nobody likes it. Parents don't like it. I've never heard of a school that really likes doing all these forms and enrollment forms and application forms and all these contracts and everything. It doesn't have to be paper. And then you've got also this is the example of our tour booking system, so that again the parents are just booking a tour that's available. They take a slot, and then it sends them auto reminders, so you don't have to send the reminders yourself. You don't have to write it down and scratch it into 5 different paper calendars, and so it saves you a lot of time there, and it makes sure that they're always getting reminders, so you don't just things don't fall through the cracks. And also, when you have a good digital system, when you stop using paper, it's really easy to track the performance of every stage in your process. So over time, you can start to see how many people are going from one stage to the next. And is there something else? It's like, oh, you can identify maybe some bottlenecks or some roadblocks, and then you can get some either some inside or outside help from consultations, from us as an example. This is what we do with our customers. We're always, we give our customers anytime coaching and consulting while we run all this for them. We also show them, because there's things we can't control that are happening inside their office or their process. So we can help them identify where things are happening, and then we can suggest, ways of improving the performance every stage in their process. So again, they get more students for less and less cost, and less time spent as well. The third myth I want to bust here is that, and this one drives me crazy. I talk to schools all the time, and they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna wait for the enrollment season and see how things go. And there, you have to understand, there is no such thing as an enrollment season, okay? You do not have to wait for parents to stop procrastinating to ensure that your school has enough tuition revenue to keep running. It's right. Almost every school I talk to thinks they have to wait until this mythical enrollment season before they decide to start implementing a marketing strategy. But when I ask them if they would prefer to already have their enrollment taken care of, no matter what part of the year it is, rather than waiting, they all say yes, of course they would. Why not? Why not know now that we're full for next year? There's no such thing as an enrollment season. It's a myth. And all that's really happening is that parents are really busy and they procrastinate, and then they leave this really large important decision until the very last minute, right? It's like, oh, Christmas is done, Happy New Year's. Oh yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing for where are the kids going next year, right? And then at the end of this so-called enrollment season, if you're waiting until then to start marketing, unfortunately, it's too late, right? You've waited until everyone's kind of made their decisions, because it takes some time to get a marketing strategy up and running. If you're waiting till February and March to start, like you should have started a while ago. It takes some time. It's not like you're there's no hope for you, but you need to start going. Like there's no if you're not sure, if you're not completely 100% sure that you're going to have the enrollment that you need to start immediately, right? Like to build a good marketing system, it takes time. As I showed you, it took, depending on your budget, it can take 1 to 3 to 4 months just to get that thing happening really nicely. Now you can start getting inquiries right out of the gate when you start running it, if you really know what you're doing, if you're working with somebody that knows this stuff. But if you're going to start this on your own and just start learning how to do this, even if you're going to get a parent volunteer that knows what they're doing with Facebook ads, they don't know the market. They don't know how to use this for enrollment. No marketing expert, I don't care what Facebook ads expert you work with, there's a learning period for any market you start working with. So unless they've had a lot of experience working with private schools or Montessori schools or whatever kind of school you are, they really need to learn your customers and your market. You might be lucky, but if you're waiting on a hope and a prayer, that's not really the most responsible way to keep your school healthy, right? So if you had a marketing strategy that spoke to the right people and pulled them in to an effective inquiry process that was designed the right way to intrigue parents and incentivize them to come into the school now and not wait until the last minute to make this incredibly important decision, you can have parents making enrollment decisions all year round and bringing in deposits, right? And securing enrollment spots. That can be positive cash flow every month of the year, right? So there's no need to wait. So I just want this to, that's something that's I think is so important for schools to understand. So I'm not exactly sure why you showed up here today, but I bet I can guess a few things. You want to be able to keep your school full to capacity with a waiting list that's staying at a consistent size. You want that waiting list to always remain the same length. And you want to have enough inquiries coming in month after month so you're not afraid to turn away parents that aren't really a good fit for your school. And you want to free up your time, your very valuable time from the repetitive remedial activities like sorting through sheets of paper or trying to figure out who you need to call, and not get answered by, so that you can spend more time on higher value and enjoyable tasks like being in the classroom or being face-to-face with these new families that have self-qualified themselves and booked a tour on their own and come in, and you already know because they went through a good system that they're well qualified, right? And you know that you're capable of reaching your goals, and you just need to get some roadblocks out of the way. And you want to give your prospective parents a communication experience that is engaging and informative and makes them look forward to enrolling their children, makes them look forward to even coming in for a tour, right? Like that's what it is. You got to sell them to come in on the tour. The right parents, of course, not the wrong parents. So here's a summary. You can do this, right? Like you can do this. This is not impossible. It's not even all that hard. You can do this. I want you to know that, right? Do you see if you just did these 3 things, you could be growing your enrollment with the right families and creating hours of margin in your day so you can focus on doing what you really love. So as a summary, you want to build targeted Facebook ads that communicate the values that your ideal parents are looking for, but in the language that they would use to talk about them. And again, and that changes from zip code to zip code. And you want to standardize the way that you follow up with inquiries so that you appear more businesslike and professional, which will result in more of those families that inquire actually showing up and coming in for tours. And then you want to use a digital system that automates this whole process so you can track exactly how much you're spending per enrollment, and you can create hours of margin in your day for doing what you really love to do. So what's stopping you? Right? Maybe you think you can't afford to hire an in-house digital marketing expert because they're really expensive, of course. And then relying on parent volunteers is hit or miss, and you never really have their full attention or their best work. I strongly urge you. Parent volunteers are amazing, and they're so important for so many things. I don't care what their experience is, don't use them for your marketing strategy. It's just a bad idea. And if you wanted to, you don't have obviously the hundreds of hours it takes to learn how to use these tools properly. It's just not realistic if you're running a school to carve out that kind of time, right? So, but you can do this. And you've shown up here today. You've obviously made it a priority. You've taken some notes, hopefully, and maybe you're even excited about making these changes. And I want you to know that the right marketing system can really make this change, and it can actually change your life if you think about what the results are going to be. But you've got to know exactly what to do at your school specifically, because every school is a little different. Every zip code's different. So it's not like there's no one size fits all. You know, if that's one thing I want you to take away, it's like, you can't do the same thing at every school. It's just different. So what's the skill level of your staff? What are the communication expectations of the parents in your area? What tools do you already know? You know, and can those be used more efficiently? Or do you need to switch to different marketing sources? And that's where we come in. So you've got two options. Is option one, you can take this information I've given you here today and obviously just kind of keep on going on your own and learn how to apply it at your school. And I'm pretty sure, like most people in your shoes, you're very busy and you don't really have the time it is really required to figure this stuff out, so that you're not missing the opportunity, the marketing opportunity, and wasting money, which is two things you want to avoid. So the obvious question is, how can you quickly and easily get the right marketing system set up and running so that you can be 100% confident that you're gonna have enough students when you need them and not have to worry about all this marketing stuff and all this business stuff that you didn't really get into this whole thing for. So at this point, you've probably figured out that I know what I'm talking about, and there's a reason why so many people just like you are handing over their marketing strategies to us here at Hubly. Okay, and so at this point, before we get into our question period, where I will be happy to answer all the questions you have for as long as you want, I would like to take a quick minute to tell you about our hands-free enrollment solution. So do I have your permission to plug our services? I just want to hear from the attendees today. Please go into the chat box on the right side. Tell me yes if you are if I have your permission to move forward with that. I'll just wait a moment while you find it and let me know if you're interested in hearing about our hands-free enrollment marketing services. If not, I can just move forward right into the question period, but I would so I got a resounding yes. Thank you, Lainey. That's a strong yes. 3 times the charm. Okay. So what we do at Hubly is we have your enrollment marketing solution. It is a complete top to bottom enrollment marketing solution where you're totally hands-free. We take the whole thing off of your plate and just get your calendar full of tour bookings. So we design and manage the Facebook ads. We build the customized and automated enrollment management system like the one I showed you. You get a simple dashboard to manage your prospects. The system reminds you when you need to take action, and the system guides the parents all the way through the enrollment process. So nobody falls through the cracks, And yeah, so let's move on here. Oh, I just um, so we design and test your ads. We design and test your landing page, and we design and test many different targeting strategies, obviously, to make sure that we do all this inside of your Facebook account, so that you end up with a campaign that generates inquiries at the lowest cost possible. And all you have to do is simply turn it on at any point down the road to start generating these low cost enrollment inquiries whenever you need to. Okay. So basically it's like a self-driving car. All you have to do is turn it on and it works. And we build and customize your automated enrollment marketing system so that parents get a very professional and trust-producing communication experience from your school whenever they show interest. And because it's automated, it allows you to focus on other things. While it fills up your tour calendar and your open houses with ideal fit prospective parents. So it consists of everything you need to run this whole system. Even if you don't have a website, our system handles that for you. So you don't have to worry about a website. If you feel like you've got a horrible website that's out of date, you don't have to worry about it. We take care of everything. Our system comprises of every single part: the web pages, the digital forms, the automated emails, the reminders, the appointment scheduling, and the enrollment dashboard. So, we love working with schools. We work with a ton of Montessori schools. I don't want to feel like I'm excluding. If you're not a Montessori school, please, we work with other kinds of schools as well. Don't think that we're not interested in talking to you. We are, but we're heavily patroned by Montessori, which is wonderful. In fact, we're so dedicated to helping schools because everybody knows that education is the best way to fix the world's problems. I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I just want you to know this is our mission, right? And so I know I don't need to convince anybody here how important schools are. I just want you to know that why we're so focused on the school sector. We only work with schools, and trust me when I say we could be focusing on other markets, outside of the education sector, where other kinds of businesses generally could pay us a lot more money. But we want to make a real difference in the world, so we focus on schools that we recognize of small budgets, and we know how to work with small schools with small budgets. So we've figured out how to make that work productively for everybody. So don't worry, we're very affordable if you're interested in working with us. So the more that schools succeed, the better. And we're here that's our mission, to get schools succeeding, and we're here to empower you. So again, I just want to bring you back to a couple of examples. These are folks that are happy to give a reference. If you want to contact Patricia, look up Fort McMurray Montessori. We helped them get 40 enrollments in 6 months. As well, there's again Brian Gordon. We helped to bring in 100 enrollments in 9 months. They're very happy to explain how we did that with them. And so if you work with us, you'll get to fill your tour calendar with ideal fit families. You'll get to have more margin in your day to focus on doing what you really love to do, which is probably being in the classroom, or being able to move from classroom to classroom and just pop in as much as you want. Or how about just being able to start a task and finish it in one sitting? Because one thing school directors tell me all the time, people that work in the office, they just can't finish anything because there's always another fire that's pulling them away from, and that's how so many prospective parents fall through the cracks. So you get to automate your enrollment marketing system so they never fall through the cracks. And you get to present these prospective parents with the right kind of communication for this stage of the relationship, right? And you get to increase your retention rate because why? Because you're only going to pull in the right parents. You're not going to take those parents that you're not sure about. Okay, and that's what's so critical. So here's something that I want you guys to know. If you book a free strategy session this week, you can actually get a 50% discount on our services. This is only for you guys. So there's There's 13 schools here. We're not offering this to anyone else. This is exclusive to the attendees of this webinar. So if you want to sign up for that, I'm also going to drop down a button you can click on. Here we go. So if you want to book that free strategy session, there should be a button there, right there, that you can click on that'll take you there. Or you can go to hubley.com/Montessori marketing. Again, if you're not a Montessori school, you can go there as well. It doesn't matter. This is not exclusively for Montessori, although we generally do just, like I would say 98% of our customers are Montessori, just because that happened naturally. So I hope you don't feel excluded if you're not Montessori. Everything I'm saying here, again, does apply to any kind of small private school, really any kind of private school that exists. But yeah, we've figured this out working with the Montessori world, but we do work with other kinds of schools as well. We've got Jewish private schools and Christian private schools, and others as well. But if you sign up for a free strategy session for this week, if you book a time this week, you guys, only exclusively the attendees of this webinar, can get our services at a 50% discount. So Lanny Santos says, sign me up. That's great. So yeah, so we've got a few folks here saying, asking for a hard copy. So I just want you to know also, guys, you're going to get an email. You'll be able to watch the replay. So you can send the replay link to somebody in your that if you need to show to the board or what have you. Barka Naik, sign me up. Great. I mean, I love people saying sign me up, but obviously what I need you guys to do is book that consultation, because I can't just sign you up right here, obviously, for our services. As much as I would like to, I need to meet you. I need to learn about you and make sure that that we're a good fit for each other first, of course. Anybody that just says, hey, work with us, we're the right fit for you, they're probably selling snake oil. So you want to stay away from those folks. So I want to make sure we can talk. We just need about 10 or 15 minutes to really chat with you and ask you some questions, make sure that we can help you, because we can't help every school. We can help most schools, but I just want to make sure there's some things we have to know about your school to make sure that our services are going to be successful for you, because we obviously don't want you to invest with us if we don't think that it's going to be a very successful thing, and we can direct you somewhere else if we think there's a better fit for you. So Barka, so thank you very much for calling. Please do, if you want to book the session, the way to do it is to go to either hubley.com/Montessori marketing, and there's a button there to schedule that session, or you can click on, there should be a drop down on the right side of the screen there, or somewhere on the screen where you can click on that, and it'll take you to the same page, so you can schedule that session. So that's the only way to actually move forward and get this 50% discount, is to schedule that session. So it's through that link. So it's really important that you go that way. So it's the only way our team can know for sure that you are part of this this webinar. So I want to make sure you don't miss out on that 50% discount opportunity. Any other questions about anything I talked about? I'm happy to to address any questions about marketing or school management in general. So I'll stick around for a little while. What does the average Montessori school spend on marketing with Hubley? That's a it's a pretty tough thing to actually say. I don't have like an average. Average isn't a great indicator. So what I would say, Laney, is that it all depends on how many students you need to enroll, and also what kind of budget you have to work with in the short term, because some schools have more budget to work with up front, so they actually get to that really great efficiency quicker, whereas some schools have a much more limited budget when they start. So it takes a little longer, because to get to the lowest cost per inquiry and the lowest cost per enrollment, it takes running the campaign and spending money on it. So it's a little bit tough for me to say the average school, also because we work with schools that are like, we've got 10 students, and we work with schools that have 600 students, right? So we can work with all of them. It all kind of depends on how many students you need to get. That's where your budget really comes in. So I don't want to throw out a number there, because I don't want to misinform you or make you think something. But what I will say is that, depending on, let's just say that, to use these strategies, whether it's with us or with anybody else, okay, like you really want to make sure that you've got, a few $1,000s to spend over a year's time. It doesn't now have to be up front at once, but you have to be kind of prepared, obviously. So let's say the average school, the average tuition is probably around $10,000 a year per student, right? And then so let's just say a school needs to bring in, 10 students. They want a 10,000, so that's $100,000. So, if you're expecting to bring in an additional $100,000 operating revenue from your tuition by growing your enrollment, you got to really expect to spend at least a few $1,000s to do that. That's just the realistic, and unfortunately I talked to a lot of schools that they just don't have a realistic understanding of, what a really good marketing strategy costs that will actually have the results that you're trying to get to, because they try to go free, they try to go volunteer route, they try to go as cheaply as possible. But unfortunately, with more so than anything with marketing, you get what you pay for. It really is. There's a cost per acquisition of your students. If you don't know what the cost per acquisition of a student is, then you really need to figure that out, because that's what determines how much you should spend, right? So Barca, you're asking, the first question I've got here is from Renata. Why were there such high and low dips on your charts for inquiries? Oh, great question. So the reason why that's there is because, number one, so again, this process works like a tap. You can turn it on and off as you need it. So when the school needs inquiries, they just turn it on, and more inquiries come out. Literally, it's like a faucet. Once it's set up the right way, it's like a faucet. You just turn it on, and the water pours out, or the inquiries pour out. So as the school needs inquiries, or let's say the school's got too many, like it's working really well and you've got all these inquiries, it's just like you've got too many. Well, turn it off, because you don't need to just keep on getting more and more inquiries. If let's say you've got 100 inquiries, well, you got to go through those first and foremost before why just keep on piling them on? Like if you only need 10 students, you probably don't need more than 100 inquiries, right? So you can just pause it. It's like a self-driving car. Just turn it off, and when you need more inquiries, turn it back on, right? Like it's that simple. So you'll see up and down performance, but when you turn it on, get ready, because you're going to get inquiries. You got to be ready to handle them, right? So there's that. Also, there's still seasonality, So as I said, there isn't an enrollment marketing season. Like it's not once or twice a year. There are seasons where, we see, like right at the beginning of the school year, like you're going to see a bit of a dip, but it's these dips only last for like weeks, a couple weeks. It's not like months at a time. So there's still seasonality, a little slight up and downs, but it's not like what, it's not what the myth is that I was kind of busting. It's not like this two times a year, that's just not reality. And then you've asked a question. So Renata, I hope that answers your question. Secondly, Barca, do you all work with brand new schools? Oh yeah, I mean we work with schools, brand new schools all the time. Sorry, not all the time. I talk to brand new schools all the time, and and I we do work with brand new schools, and we try to encourage schools to start marketing like a year out. And that might sound like crazy, but I mean, here's the reality. Like, I mean, do you want to open up your doors uh, with a full school or with no students? Because that's like it, you can actually open up your doors with a full school and a waiting list. Like that's what you should be aiming to do. And you can totally do that. But you have to start using these strategies ideally a year before you're going to open. And some people are like, "Oh, well, we don't have we don't even have the license yet." It actually doesn't matter. There's depending on the stage that you're in with getting your school opened, there's always a good way to use these strategies. And I've talked to schools, many schools that have not even having worked with us, but they have gotten deposits before they even have a school, and that's what you should be trying to do. There's no reason why, if you're opening up in March or April 2019, you can't start marketing now and start getting parents in the door and actually even paying deposits and holding a spot. So that's so healthy for your business. Even if let's say you're getting these deposits and even if they're refundable, right? Like how much, right? Like if you were to talk to a bank to get financing and you say, "Hey, we've got 50% of our enrollment already with deposits," right? Or let's say you've got, we want to have 100 students and we already have 100 students with deposits. There's no reason why you can't have that. And even if 50% of them decide to go elsewhere and you give that money back, well, that's no harm, no foul. You're still 50% there. And you can, so so you can even have more deposits and have people paying to be on the waiting list. Like you should start now and you start getting deposits in. It's just you like just think about what the difference the position you're in when you're going through this process of opening up a school and taking the risk and in the investment and the time, getting financing or getting investors or spending your own money. Well, how much better would it be to, let's say 6 months before the school's even going to open, you've got a full school enrolled. Like that is, and there's no reason why you can't do that. There's absolutely no reason why you can't do that. It's certainly the right way to go. It's the way I would go. That's a great question. Thank you very much, Mark. Any other questions? So I've only got a few more minutes because I actually am booked to do a demo with another school at in about 8 minutes. So I'm going to be wrapping up here in a couple minutes. I'll wait a couple more minutes to see if there's any more questions. But this has been a phenomenal group here with great engagement, great questions. I really appreciate your time, folks. Please do, book if you want to get a 50% discount on our services. Schedule a demo with me this week. We'll do a strategy session. We'll figure out exactly what you need, and you'll be able to walk away. We'll do a strategy session, and even if you don't, we'll give you kind of a blueprint. And even if you don't end up working with us, that'll be information that you can take away and actually do something with. Even if you want to work with someone else, we're going to let you walk away with something of value. Thanks so much, Laney. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. And you can also email me at jono@hubley.com if you have any other questions, of course. But please do. The best way to ensure, the only way to ensure that you get that discount is to book through that link, hubley.com/Montessori marketing, or click on the drop down on the side. I actually can't see the drop down on the side. Can you guys just confirm with me that you're seeing the drop down? Because I'm saying drop down. I don't know if you're even seeing what I'm talking about. But this webinar system should have a drop down button on the right side where you can actually click to go and schedule that session. Can anyone confirm with me in the chat if you're seeing that or not? That would just be a great favor to me. Ah, Marco doesn't see it. Okay, maybe it's not working. Okay, well, in any event, guys, if you want to get information to share with your board, again, book that session, and I'll make sure that that we can get you that info. And also, you're going to get an email with a replay link for the next 48 hours that you can rewatch this, or you can send that link to another person who can watch it. So go ahead and do that as well if there's other folks that you need to show this to. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining me. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening at this point now, and we'll see you guys soon. Hopefully, all the best.